Before radiators hummed and thermostats dictated comfort, staying warm at night was not a matter of convenience, but survival. If you're serious about history, you already know this wasn't primitive guesswork. It was a refined system of habits, architecture, materials, and bodily discipline developed over thousands of years. Tonight, warmth was planned from morning onward. What's often missed in modern retellings is that many of these methods were not just adequate, they were efficient, resilient, and in some cases superior to modern heating when energy was scarce or absent. That's what makes them relevant again. If you've ever wondered why people living through Ice Age conditions, medieval winters, or Iron Age cold snaps didn't simply freeze at night, the answer is not thicker clothes or bigger fires. It's a layered strategy that treated heat as something to be captured, stored, shared, and protected. Once you understand that logic, you'll see how much we've forgotten. Right. So the first thing to understand is that pre-central heating societies didn't really think in terms of warming rooms. Instead, they thought in terms of warming their bodies and, well, preserving that warmth through the night. Now, fire was expensive, both in terms of labour and fuel, so it was used quite strategically. Honestly, the real work happened before sleep. Hearth fires were, allowed to burn down into deep beds of embers, which would radiate a steady heat for hours on end. Stones, bricks, and even packed earth around the hearth would absorb that heat and then release it slowly, long after the flames were gone. This wasn't accidental, not at all. Homes were actually designed as thermal batteries. You can apply this idea today by preheating dense materials before sleep. A hot water bottle is, well, the modern equivalent, but a heated stone wrapped in cloth works just as well, and in fact lasts longer. The principle here is thermal mass, not technology. Beds were not empty platforms in cold rooms. They were enclosed systems. Box beds, curtain beds, and alcove beds reduced the volume of air that needed to be warmed. And when two or more people slept together, their combined body heat raised the temperature inside that space dramatically. Even animals were sometimes brought indoors at night, not out of sentiment, but because, well, a cow or goat was a walking furnace. This worked because humans generate heat constantly, and in a confined space that heat accumulates. If you've ever camped in a small tent versus a large one, you already understand the difference. Applying this today means, well, reducing exposed space when sleeping cold. Smaller rooms, fewer drafts, and insulating curtains around a bed can actually outperform just turning up a heater. People didn't rely on wearing layers to bed the way many assume. Instead, insulation was placed around and beneath the sleeper. Straw mattresses, wool-filled ticks, fur pelts and layered blankets created dead air space, which is what actually insulates. Cold floors were neutralized by thick bedding underneath, preventing conductive heat loss into the ground. Wool was especially prized because it retains insulating properties even when damp. Linen sheets, on the other hand, wicked moisture away from the body, keeping skin dry and reducing evaporative heat loss. These materials weren't chosen for comfort alone. They were chosen because, well, they worked. For modern use, this means prioritizing what's under you as much as what's over you. A well-insulated sleeping pad or a thick mattress, honestly, matters more than another blanket. Wool remains one of the most effective materials available, even today. Older homes were smaller, lower and compartmentalized. Ceilings were lower to reduce rising heat loss. Doors were heavy, thresholds were high, and windows were small and deeply set. Night shutters, added another insulating layer. Fireplaces were central, not decorative, and sleeping areas were positioned to benefit from residual warmth. Even chimneys were designed to maintain draw without sucking all the heat out of the room. Many cultures closed off unused rooms entirely in winter, concentrating life into a few warm spaces. If you want to apply this thinking, stop trying to heat entire houses when only one room is used at night. Close doors, seal drafts, and focus heat where bodies are present. This was standard practice for centuries. People didn't stumble into bed cold, Evening routines were designed to raise core temperature before sleep. Hot meals, warm drinks, a bit of light physical work, and, spending time near the hearth. All of that primed the body. Once in bed, folks minimize movement to preserve heat. There's a lesson here, really. Going to bed cold makes staying warm much harder. So eat something warm, move your body lightly, and enter sleep already warm. This is physiology, not nostalgia. Central heating warms air, not people, and once it turns off, the warmth dissipates quickly. Traditional systems stored heat in mass, bedding and bodies, releasing it slowly through the night. They didn't depend on constant fuel input either. They worked during storms, shortages and failures, you see. In survival situations, off-grid living, or even energy-conscious homes, these methods remain effective. They scale down beautifully, which, modern systems often don't. People of the past weren't tougher because they were miserable. They were warmer because they understood heat as a resource to be managed. They designed their lives around it. That knowledge didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because cheap energy made it seem unnecessary. For historians and survivalists, this isn't trivia. It's applied knowledge with real-world value. The more energy becomes uncertain, the more relevant these systems become again. If you found this breakdown useful and want more deep practical history that actually teaches you something, subscribe to Iron Age Instincts. Share this with someone who thinks central heating is the only way humans ever survived winter. There's a lot more forgotten knowledge worth bringing back.